Far beyond the world's crowded coastlines lies a place where land and sea have shaped one another for millions of years. Here, beneath tranquil waters, one of Earth's richest ecosystems begins its endless cycle of life. Sunlight penetrates only the upper layers of the sea, transforming the reef into a world powered by light, current, and extraordinary biological cooperation. To the untrained eye, a coral reef appears still, yet every crevice supports a community whose survival depends on perfect ecological. Coral reefs are the rainforests of the sea, built by tiny polyps that provide shelter for thousands of species.
Although rooted, anemones are alive. Their tentacles capture prey while providing sanctuary for a remarkable, specialized partnership.
Protected by a specialized mucus coating, clownfish live safely among stinging tentacles that would drive away almost every other reef fish. Even the reef's largest residents rely on creatures barely larger than a finger. Cooperation here is essential for survival.
Each bite produces fine sand that forms tropical beaches. Over a lifetime, a single parrotfish creates an entire coastline.
Beyond the shelter of the coral, survival depends on numbers. Alone, each fish is vulnerable. The reef does not end at its edge. It gives way to another world, ruled by stronger currents and entirely different strategies. Power in the open ocean is rarely wasted. Experienced hunters know that patience brings greater rewards than frantic, exhausted speed. For creatures that have crossed oceans for millions of years, every reef is both a feeding ground and a waypoint. Beyond the reef lies an ocean without walls. Here, currents replace shelter, and travelers must rely on endurance rather than hiding. In the open sea, invisible rivers guide millions of travelers. These highways connect distant reefs across thousands of kilometers.
Much of the ocean remains hidden beyond the reach of sunlight. From these depths, larger travelers often appear without warning.
Barracudas rarely waste energy. Even within these immense assemblies, order emerges from countless subtle adjustments made by every individual.
Few predators inspire more fascination than sharks. They spend their lives patrolling vast stretches of ocean with quiet, terrifying efficiency. Sharks do not fight the ocean. They read it. Every current carries information, temperature, scent, and the movements of life.
Long before danger becomes visible, many fish detect pressure changes. Survival often begins with information rather than pure speed.
In the ocean, patience is the greatest advantage. The moment of attack is measured in opportunity, not minutes. The ocean rarely announces danger. Instead, it grows quiet. Long before a predator appears, changes ripple through every creature. Each fish senses only a fragment of the world. Together, they perceive what no individual ever could. Predators are rarely seen first. More often, they are sensed through the movement of the water.
In the open ocean, even the strongest hunter cannot ignore the current. Water decides where energy is spent.
The greatest hunters do not waste energy. Before every hunt comes observation. Before every movement comes patience.
A successful hunt rarely begins with speed. It begins with careful, calculated information. A predator does not search for the fastest fish. It searches for the smallest, most vulnerable mistake. Water carries more than movement. It carries scent, vibration, and opportunity. No single fish commands the school. Order emerges from thousands of tiny decisions. Most hunts end exactly like this. The prey remains together. The predator begins again.
Failure is a familiar outcome for every hunter. Energy is precious, and patience matters more than persistence.
Not every traveler follows the reef. Some cross the open ocean each day, guided by memory and sound. Even the most graceful swimmers must return to the surface. Every breath reminds us that mammals are bound to air. As daylight softens, the reef prepares for another transformation. One community settles, while another will awaken in the light. As daylight fades, the reef changes. Thousands of fish return to familiar shelters before darkness arrives. Light shapes every rhythm of life. As the sun descends, another community begins to awaken. The reef never sleeps. It simply changes its inhabitants. For many creatures, sunset is not the end of the day. It is the beginning. Camouflage is more than hiding. It is a language spoken through color, texture, and light. As darkness settles, the reef enters one of its quietest moments. Neither day nor night completely belongs. Large eyes allow these fish to gather every trace of light before darkness fully arrives. Night belongs to those willing to search patiently. Every movement may reveal the next meal. Most visitors never notice the reef's smallest citizens, yet these tiny engineers keep the ecosystem alive. The ocean never truly stands still. Even when the reef appears peaceful, invisible rivers continue feeding life. For a brief moment, the reef sleeps. But beneath the silence, another community is beginning its day. Some hunters never need to see their prey. Invisible electrical signals reveal what the sand keeps hidden. In darkness, even the smallest organism can create light, not for beauty, but for survival. Camouflage is often built one piece at a time. Some creatures carry the reef upon their backs. Patience finally earns its reward. For an octopus, every successful hunt depends not on strength, but on precision. As darkness settles completely, the reef changes shifts. One community rests while another quietly takes its place. Speed is used sparingly. For a squid, success depends on timing far more than constant pursuit. Not every engineer has fins. Countless invertebrates work through the night, recycling the nutrients that sustain the reef. Even after sunset, essential work continues. The reef's smallest caretakers never truly stop. From above, the reef seems quiet, yet millions of lives continue in rhythm, each depending on the other. Corals may resemble stone, but by night they reveal their true nature, countless tiny animals feeding together in silence. For nocturnal travelers, caution is as important as hunger. Every step across open ground carries risk.
An open mouth is not always a warning. For moray eels, this motion is simply the rhythm of breathing.
In darkness, the reef does not sleep. It breathes, through millions of tiny lives working together in quiet harmony. Morning begins long before the sun appears. The ocean senses the coming light long before our eyes can. Every dawn triggers one of Earth's largest daily migrations. Billions of tiny drifting animals descend into deeper water. For creatures of the night, the approaching dawn marks the end of another successful journey. Even before sunrise, the reef begins preparing for another day. Every species follows its own internal clock. Every sunrise is more than the beginning of a day. It is the renewal of an ancient rhythm repeated for millions of years. At last, the sun returns. After hours of darkness, light once again awakens the reef.
Light does more than reveal color. It signals the beginning of countless daily routines repeated for millions of years.
As the reef awakens, every species resumes its place in a complex web of cooperation and survival.
For some, the day is only beginning. For others, another journey simply continues. Each sunrise begins a story that has unfolded for millions of years. Life is not a single day, but an endless cycle. As one day begins, the ocean continues its timeless rhythm. The ocean breathes with every wave. Its surface hides worlds beyond imagination. Healthy reefs do not exist alone. They are part of a much larger living landscape. Coral reefs occupy less than 1% of the ocean floor, yet they support nearly a quarter of all marine species. Long after we leave, the reef will continue. Every tide, every sunrise, every generation.